Hi everybody, good morning. I'm sorry for my hoarse voice. First of all, I want to thank Antashka for inviting me, and I want to thank all of you for participating and contributing to this program. Because as I'll show you a little later, when you see the numbers, it will be quite evident to you that Ireland is leading this program. In numbers, in development, and I think also thanks to Antashka's experience and seriousness, the level of the implementation of the program in Ireland is a benchmark for any other country that wants to participate in this program. And Michael John, I know that you don't want us to pat ourselves on the back, but I think you definitely deserve a pat on the back, all of you, for the level of the program that's been run in Ireland. At least this has been my impression when I've visited or been part of assessment processes here. And in fact, it's true also for the Green Schools program, the Eco Schools program as well. You're definitely one of the leading countries in this. So a big kudos to you all for that work. I'm Daniel Schaffer. I'm the CEO of the Foundation for Environmental Education. And just give you a little brief information about us. So we're a non-profit, non-governmental organization. We're based in the UK, but we are in Copenhagen, but we are a UK registered charity. We promote sustainable development through environmental education, and we are actually acting as an umbrella organization with one associate or full member per country, which is entitled to run one of our 5 programs in those countries. This organization kind of developed from the environmental movement that came out of the 60s and 70s, and decided to focus on education as an important process within our aims for sustainability, or better environment at the time. And the organization was established in 1981 by 4 countries, and today we have already 88 member organizations, and we're operating, we're right here 73, but in fact with the Indian Ocean islands we're now at 75 countries. So there's enormous growth in this organization and its networking and its impact on education for sustainable development around the world. And we run 5 programs. And when you look at these programs, 2 of them are basically eco-labels and 3 are school-based programs. The eco-labels are Blue Flag, which you run here in Ireland as well. And it's a program that focuses on beaches and marinas, how are they run in a sustainable fashion according to very clear criteria. Green Key is a similar program, but it focuses on hotels and the hospitality industry. And what's interesting here, and then the 3 other programs are Eco Schools, or Green Schools as they're known in Ireland, learning about forests, and Young Reporters for the Environment. And in fact, if you think about it, it's an interesting spectrum of positive action with different stakeholders, because schools, children, universities, that's one portion of our stakeholders. Green Key definitely represents business and the relationship that civil society organizations like ours can work with business in order to promote sustainability. And Blue Flag is really, we say that the end consumer is the mum and pop that decide to go to a certain beach because it's clean and safe. But your real audience here are municipalities, it's local government. Those are the people that you're really influencing through these kind of programs. So it's an interesting spectrum of stakeholders that we are working with and that we're pushing our NGOs all over the world to get involved in, and it's quite complicated. So if we're looking at the Eco Schools program today, it is the largest formal education program for ESD, for Education for Sustainable Development. I don't think we're the biggest. I would presume that the Scouts, for example, are a bigger program than ours if you look at it, but but that's non-formal. If you're looking at the formal education, so what's working through ministries of education in the school systems, we're today dealing with 17 million students in the registered eco schools and about 1.3 million teachers. And that means that FEE and our members have become a force to reckon with when it comes to dealing with education for sustainable development. And we are recognized today by UNESCO, by UNEP, by some of the big global partners as one of the most important delivering mechanisms for some of the ESD principles that the UN is trying to work on. When we talk about the FEE EcoCampus, just a few points. It started in Russia in 2003, and then we have Portugal. Ireland came on board, I think, in 2007, is that correct? And we're talking about 89 registered EcoCampuses, and Deirdre just said that you have 25 of these, or almost 23, and possibly 25 in a very short time, only here in Ireland. So I think that when you look at the numbers, you understand what I was saying at the beginning of my little to-do. One of the things that we felt very worried about is that we have to build some mechanism that unifies what we're trying to do here. So there's some form of standard that we can apply and demand from everybody. And having Ireland set a very high standard here is part of this process. So Deirdre said that, and Tashka is involved in this. They are involved in this. We've created a working group to look at how we develop this program in a way that we can actually implement or disseminate it around the world. And if you look at the Green Schools program, the Green School program is so successful today around the world for the simple reason that the methodology is very simple to understand. It's a 7-step methodology that you all know, but what you put into each one of these steps has local relevance. And you can't, I was just saying to somebody here today that, if you're dealing in African schools in Uganda and Kenya, health is probably the most important topic that you need to bring on board. Maybe it's water. Energy isn't. If your school is not connected to the grid, then talking about energy is completely irrelevant. So when we build this kind of program, we have to remember that it has to be relevant to the different locations that we want to run it in. And that is also true to the EcoCampus. And we have to be very careful, on the one hand, that we don't dilute our standards and and the level that we're expecting to achieve. But on the other hand, we also have to be realistic and understand that if we want this to be a widespread program that has a widespread impact, we can't take everything that you're doing in Ireland today and say that will be relevant to Ghana. It's just not going to happen. But we still want to have that program run in Ghana, in universities in Ghana. So we need to figure out how we're going to build this flexibility into the program, and having Tashka on board representing the very high scale is very important for us in this discussion. So this is just a little bit of the spread of what we're doing today. We've got Uganda and Malaysia running pilots in universities now, also contributing to this working group process. And Kenya has just asked to register their first university. So we're definitely looking at developing world countries to be part of this. Another interesting thing, which I want to just bring up here. Do I have how much time do I have left?
6 minutes.
Plenty. For a complicated. One of the things that is happening today around that we're involved in is a program that has been developed by UNESCO as the next level of the decade for education for sustainable development that was between 2005 and ended at the end of 2014. So they said, okay, we ran this for a decade, but how are we going to continue this? And UNESCO basically focused on 5 priority areas in ESD. And one of these, in a program that they call the GAP, which is the Global Action Program for Education for Sustainable Development, and FEE, the organization that I work for, has been asked to play a major role in group number 2 of this process, of this network, which is the whole institutional approaches. And the reason for this is that eco-schools and eco-campuses or green campuses are in fact implementing the whole institutional approach. And if you look at this thing here, this is basically a drawing of how the relationships within a whole institutional approach organization, how it actually should be done. It was prepared by Shallcross in 2003. And if you look at this carefully, and you are well aware of the 7 steps of our steps, and for example, if I take this last one here, which is the organization culture and ethos, social it's the social and organizational ethos of this organization. That's the eco code. That's your 7th step in your 7 steps. So if you look at administrative, technical, economical, organizational practices and how that is connected to your evaluation, to your community links, etc. If you look at that, that falls quite clearly into what you're doing in your campuses and in your universities. And I think that this is something that we should always keep in mind. Why am I bringing this up? Because it brought again a part of the debate, and I just wanted to share this debate with you about the whole institutional approach and how FEE needs to deal with this. Because, for example, in Ireland, you have decided, and Tashka has decided in the way they've promoted the program here, that the whole campus, the whole university, college, whatever, has to be participating in this. Okay? And that's very important. In some of the other countries where you have very spread campuses, it was a specific campus that actually enrolled into the program and not the whole university. Do we allow this? Don't we allow this? Is this the correct approach? Do we expect Copenhagen University, which is spread out, to have this one unified approach, where in fact each campus inside is almost completely autonomous? So there's a lot of questions that we have to ask ourselves about that, and show certain flexibility, but have that in mind, and push for that to be our final goal, and have the whole campus and the whole university involved. So one of the things that we've, for example, said is that yes, you can run it with you can run it in a specific campus, but it's the head of the university that has to sign this. So there has to be a commitment at the highest level of the university, even if it's going to be run only in 1 or 2 campuses in the beginning within the university. So these are the kind of things, just to explain what we're focusing and how what we're dealing with and how we want to develop. And the last thing I wanted to talk about is, you probably all know these, right? These are the 17 sustainable goals that have been adopted by the UN in September 2015. And I think this is very important because it does 2 things. The one is it has paved, or it's created a framework for organizations like ours to have a vision for the next 15 years, because these sustainable goals are set for 2030. The second thing, which is very important, is that it provides everybody the same lingo. So if you go to the ministries, if you go to corporate world for sponsorship, everybody is looking at the same goals and looking at how they connect to this. So it's setting kind of a common ground for everybody to work with. Another important thing is that it is a commitment by government, so it's something that we can use when we go to government and say, you've committed yourself to this, and we are supplying certain tools to help you fulfill your commitment. And I think the last thing is that it's helping organizations like ours that have been strongly connected to environmental education move into education for sustainable development, which is not always an easy thing to do for some of our organizations. You set in your ways, it's always been about the environment, it's always been about biodiversity, but we know today that we have to have a much more holistic approach towards sustainability. There's many more things in there that are all interconnected and that we need to take into account. So I brought in a few points that I think are important on what we're doing and what we're doing with Antashka. And I thank you all very much for giving me the time to present this to you. Thank you.